Good afternoon, everyone. The Starman showing us 10.7 centimeter flux, lowest since 1962, trending downward as well. Global temperatures for September are out. Guess what? It's down yet again. Calgary, most snow this early in 61 years, and the wettest October 2nd on record. These records go back to 1884. Even Russian news outlets are covering the Canadian snowstorms, jumping in on their news feeds. Early snow killing thousands of hectares of grain, and farm business average net cash down. And as we move forward into the intensifying Eddy grand solar minimum, you will absolutely need to grow some of your own food. TrueLeafMarket.com, the Adapt 2030 link is below in the description box, as well as the links to tonight's images and stories. And right below that, you'll find a hyperlink out to Mini Ice Age Conversations tri-weekly podcast, more in-depth analysis on these changes sweeping our planet. Going to start you off here with the Starman, David Birch. His article and post here detailing the number of sunspots, along with the 10.7 centimeter flux, talking about the trends in decreased solar activity. So to read this chart, right in the dead center, you're going to see the sunspot count. And it depends if it's increasing going into the solar maximum or decreasing going into the 11-year solar minimum that we're used to. Now you'll notice a bunch of different coded, colored boxes in there. I'm focusing on the blue box. That is the maximum during a solar cycle. I put the purple arrow there so you can see where we are, 2017, and if you notice 810, that is the lowest anywhere on this chart going back to 1962, and it is absolutely forecast for that to drop off even lower. And with that being said, solar activity, here we are, University of Alabama, Huntsville, global temperature update, September 2018. Global temperatures have dropped yet again. We were told it was the warmest year ever, the hottest summer ever. Yet the global temperatures dropped all through this record heat summer. Interesting how that is the opposite of what they're telling you in the news, what the science is telling you with the data. And taking a look at this chart here, I like to bring it in a more numerical value so we can see region of the planet in 2017 September compared to 2018 September, so you can see where these global temperature drops are occurring. It's broken down by global, which has dropped 0.4 of a degree, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Now, if you go over to the right side, the second from the right, you'll see Arctic. That has dropped the most in this last year. They told us the Arctic temperatures were warming. It's the all-time hottest Arctic ever. Yet the temperatures dropped over that entire year by more than 0.8 of a degree. And Tucker Carlson had Dr. Roy Spencer on his program. And since the global temperatures are dropping and the left and the global warming hysteria has to change narrative, what they're now trying to say is the number of hurricanes are caused by CO2. Well, in actuality, we'll go back to 1851 and take a look at how many hurricanes there have been so far in this decade from 2011 to 2020. I know it's 2 years out, but look how low that is. That takes us back to 1861 to 1870-ish. Trend line is down since the 1930s. So the narrative seems to be falling apart at the seams everywhere you look in this global warming battle for the CO2 tax. Now back to the Starman, 10.7 centimeter flux, talking about the energy emitted from the sun is in a negative trend, suggesting a deep grand solar minimum in the coming decades. And as forecast, this is going to result in an overall downward trend in temperatures. Starting in the northern hemisphere, you're looking for something at least in the coldest in 50 years, possibly up to 60 years this winter, 2018 and 19. On to Robert Felix's site, iceagenow.info. Calgary, most snow this early in the season in 61 years. Now, it's the snowiest day on record since 1957, but it's the wettest October 2nd on record. And these records began back in 1884. So we're starting to now getting the half century and over a full century records being broken. And if we take a deeper look into the actual times that these most epic snowfalls happen in Calgary, we have to go 1914, 1957. So it's one of those two that we're going to repeat this cycle coming into this winter. Looks like it might be on the 100-year cycle, 1914, 2018, that's a century, give or take a few years, or it would be at the half-century mark back in 1957. Now, this snow is so unprecedented and so rare and so deep, it broke the records by 5 times the previous totals that it made Russian news outlets. So here's a couple images coming off of what the Russian media is covering on how rare and unusual this event is. Showing you a few snow here. I left the Russian translation up. But digging through their website also at MetaTB, Russia also experiencing the exact same thing. Early snow killing thousands of hectares of grain. This is in eastern Siberia. Squally winds, lowered temperatures, heavy snow. And when we are talking about crops and food production, farm business average net cash farm income 2017 compared to 2018. Look at the Fruitful Rim West Coast minus 22%, as well as down Texas and Southern California. How about the Basin and Range minus 30%? You can check out the Resource Management Survey, and what they peg it to is changes in crop rotation, weather, and then other location-based production impacts, which they don't list. But I was told we were having bumper crops across every region of the United States. Now, if that's the case, how are all these farm businesses losing money across our country? Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. You can find the graphs and images in a blog format here, steemit.com/adapt2030. And as always, the Tri-Weekly Podcast, Mini Ice Age Conversations, covering this same information in more detail on the intensifying grand solar minimum and how it's going to affect your food prices and ultimately your life.